Ladies and gentlemen, over the last couple of days, I've been hit with so many questions on which character should I awaken in the latest patch, and which ones are really good now, and which ones are maybe not so great or significantly less valuable than they were before the patch. Now, I'm going to preface this video by saying, until like Alliance Quest, Alliance War come out, and we've done them for a few weeks, the tier list and any rankings on champions, they're going to be a little bit up in the air. So anything that I say now may change in terms of practicality. All I'm working on here is theory at the moment for Alliance Quest and Alliance War, and also the practicality of stuff like Act 4, Road to Labyrinth, and also Labyrinth of Legends and Realm of Legends on how some of these characters will work in those various scenarios. So in terms of like getting really solid characters and who exactly is going to be the best for Alliance War offense and Alliance War defense, that might change a bit. So in terms of that's the disclaimer I'm going to give here, and maybe today, maybe tomorrow, we're going to do a video on who I believe are some of the strongest champions now, and also that disclaimer applies as well. I can speculate all I want and talk about the theory of stuff, but when it comes to practicality, stuff might be a little bit different, as it always is. So I think for your generic Awakening gem, the first thing to bear in mind is generic Awakening gems are quite rare. They're becoming a little bit more common. I think for every chapter in Act 5 for doing 100%, you're going to be able to get a 4-star one as well. But if you're kind of in the earlier Game of Marvel Contest of Champions, they are very rare and very hard to get your hands on. So I think at the moment, in my opinion, there are only 3 characters that do warrant a generic Awakening gem, and that is Scarlet Witch, it's Star-Lord, and it's Dr. Voodoo. So Scarlet Witch, we did a Realm of Legends run yesterday, still really good for every boss, but she didn't quite have the power to overcome Wolverine's regeneration, which isn't really too much of a problem. Just in kind of the new setup, you can sub out maybe one of the Juggernauts or one of the characters and build a slightly less crit team to add in Guillotine there to easily deal with Wolverine. But for kind of general endgame clearing, she still seems really amazing. The only question is, like, is her regeneration going to be kind of reliable enough for Alliance Quest or Alliance War viability, whereas she's competing with, you know, Dr. Voodoo and Ghost Rider for those. So interested to see kind of how Scarlet Witch moves on. But overall, in terms of a generic Awakening gem, I think she's a really solid game-changing option there. You also have Star-Lord, again, a really solid game-changing option, even as a 4-star, amazing for pretty much every aspect of the game. Alliance War offense, Alliance Quest offense, really good. And just kind of like every piece of endgame content, just because he can his awakened ability, the higher your combo goes, the higher his damage gets, and it goes up to a 400 combo damage increase, which is still absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, Star-Lord is still a really great champion. And then finally you have Dr. Voodoo. He's going to be added to the crystals next Tuesday, and Dr. Voodoo is a great champion, just so much damage, and he has some really crazy synergies with his power drain and poison, and also at the start of the fight he has a reliable regeneration. He's always going to regen at least as 12% of his health, but when you get it awakened, it can double and a bit. So yeah, it's a really solid champion for aspects of the game like Alliance Quest, because in every fight you're guaranteed a bit of regeneration at the start. Plus he has a lot of utility, a lot of damage output. Like, everybody that I know that has Voodoo, myself included now, absolutely loves him. Really solid character, benefits a lot from being awakened. Now, there are 2 characters that I want to talk about that kind of before the patch were like Awakening gem potential, but now I believe, you know, you should approach with some hesitancy, and that's Black Widow and Thor. Now, I'm going to start off by talking about Black Widow. So Black Widow's signature ability at Jubilee level 99 reduces defensive ability accuracy on the opponent by 70%. Now, this goes up by 15% if you're against a science opponent, and down by 55% if you're against a mutant opponent. Now, Black Widow has previously been an incredibly viable champion for Alliance War, because she had 100% before the patch, which meant that you could overcome anything despite the class of the opponent. However, I think after the patch, I'm kind of maybe predicting that Elektra might become Elektra or Crossbones, because Crossbones seems really strong in terms of his Fury ramp up without a crit team now, might overall turn out to practically be better champions than Black Widow. I don't know that for a fact. There needs to be a lot of testing done in Alliance War to see, but I think Black Widow has this huge disadvantage now of, like, if you place a mutant on a Thorns node, or a node that, you know, Black Widow usually counters, of having, like, significantly less effectiveness, because it's only going to be max of 55% against a mutant, and that's providing you've got her at dupe level 99, which a lot of people don't. So yeah, I'm really, I don't know, I'm a little bit hesitant about kind of the new Black Widow moving forward. I'm not too sure if she's going to be better than Crossbones or Elektra, but previously she was definitely like an option for a generic, but after this patch, all I'm saying is kind of until like Alliance Wars come back out, I'd approach like Awakening Black Widow with hesitance. I don't think there's any need to rush into it right now. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Black Widow. But you know, she does benefit a lot from being awakened. It's just whether or not you need to awaken her, because like if like Crossbones and Elektra are both better champions, then you might not even need to bother with a character. But yeah, interested to see. And next up we have Thor. So Thor, you know, he got a bit of a revamp. He got juiced up a little bit, but it seems like a lot of the Cosmic Champions, specifically Drax, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Hyperion, all seem to be performing really, really well at the moment. And I think Drax especially, like, I took up my Drax to rank 3 this morning and awakened him, because I had a spare Cosmic Gem. I had like 8 Awakening Gems knocking about, so I thought I'd chuck an Awaken on him, just because I had nobody else to use it on, really. Not because I, like, highly recommend it, but I'm playing around with Drax a bit at the moment, and he might be the potential for an Awakening Gem recommendation, but I need to, I'm probably going to finish maxing out my 4, do a bit of testing with him at 550 level, hopefully record like a few Alliance Quest boss kills, and then maybe rank him down, rank Drax up, and do a little bit of testing there. But Thor is good, he's decent, he benefits a lot from being awakened, but it's whether or not these other Cosmic Champions are now more powerful than Thor. So I think that's something interesting to bear in mind there. But yeah, he's not a bad option, but there might be better options, so that's kind of the conservative advice that I'm giving you. Now, for each class, there are kind of other champions as well, you know, if you've got class-specific Awakening Gems that I think are fairly decent to do, so I'm going to go through each class and talk about some champions. I think Science is one of the most interesting ones at the moment, because by far the most valuable character out of the Science tree. Let me switch to 3-star, because we've got roughly about one of each 3-star. Yeah, we've got pretty much every 3-star in the game, apart from, I think it's Mordo and Voodoo and Hyperion are the only ones we're lacking, so we can go through the entire roster here. So in terms of Science Champions, I think out of all of them, like Quake benefits probably the most from being awakened. However, with Quake, you need to bear in mind that in 4 weeks' time, there's going to be the Quake Arena. So we've got the Rogue Arena coming up next, and then the Quake one after that. So instead of awakening Quake, you're probably better off just waiting for that arena and grinding her there, because then you can just awaken the champion that way. Elektra as an Alliance War Defender benefits quite a bit from being awakened, gives him a little bit more crit. Actually, it doesn't really benefit as a defender. Yeah, Elektra is not worth using the gem on, thinking about it. Captain America gains it's nice to have Captain America awakened, but he doesn't need it at all. He doesn't need it. Just gives him more block proficiency when the opponent has a buff. So it's just really the icing on the cake, but he doesn't benefit a huge amount. And with a generic gem, you want to use it on a champion that, you know, is going to change the game for you. Hulk, decent damage output, doesn't really affect kind of the core gameplay mechanic at the moment, which is stun locking, but gives him more attack as his what is it? Health is reduced. Yellow Jacket. Yeah, I wouldn't, but there are better Science Champions. Ain't too bad though, the stun. What else do you have? You have Ant-Man. Wouldn't use an Awakening Gem on him. Who else is worth talking about? Spider-Man as well is a potential for a Science Awakening Gem. Gives him, you know, activates his evade, you know, significantly changes the character. And that's the thing that you really need to think about when awakening champions, because a lot of the awakened abilities are just like a little bit more to an already quite good champion. But generally, if you've got a gem, you want to use it on a champion that is going to completely like benefit so much and is made by their awakening ability. Like Spider-Man, if you don't have him awakened, isn't a very good defender, but awakened, he's a pretty good defender. Now let's go into the skill class. What do we have here? So Gwenpool kind of benefits a little bit from being awakened. If you got a 4-star Gwenpool, she's not a bad choice. Can tank special freeze and also reduces defensive ability accuracy with her combo. Ain't too bad, a little bit slow, definitely not necessary though. Crossbones and Agent Venom have very nice to haves on their awakened ability, not really too essential. Elektra, her awakened ability gives her assassin's range. it at 25% on the opponent and also increases her crit damage there. It's very nice to have, is an essential. Black Widow, again, we've covered that, reduces defensive ability accuracy all the time, but it might be less effective overall than Crossbones and Elektra. Daredevil gains an auto evade. His awakened ability is pretty defining, especially if you can get up to 99, because then you're automatically going to evade every projectile if you can fully max it out, and that can be very useful in some circumstances. Plus, he has pretty decent block proficiency. He's not a bad option. Then you have Punisher, Black Panther, Winter Soldier, Falcon, Karnak, Black Panther, Civil War, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, and Netflix Daredevil. All these characters gain a bit from being awakened, but I don't think any of them are worth using a gem on, in my opinion. So let's move over to the Mutant one. So I think some of the best characters in the Mutant class, OG Deadpool is by far the best if you have him, but he's a very, very rare character, so imagine you probably don't. But in terms of Mutant, I think like Wolverine, X-23, and Rogue are probably some of the best. Archangel's duped ability isn't too bad, a lot of utility throughout various stuff, but the thing is with Rogue as well, she's going to be in Arena 2 weeks time, so if you want to awaken your Rogue, probably wait till the Arena there, because that will give her, what is it, critical life and power steal, which can be amazing at some points when you're fighting Rogue. It isn't character defining, but it's a really, really nice to have. I don't think like any of the Mutant awakened abilities are character defining in some way, apart from maybe Magneto's, because that allows him to tank special freeze. A lot of them are very nice to haves. Cyclops gains like additional damage. Who else do we have? Gambit's flak jacket, what is it, increases like his critical hit damage or something on special attacks, I believe, and it gives him a little bit more physical resistance at the start. Beast changes his combo chain a little bit more, but yeah, I don't want to talk about it in too much detail. There isn't too much depth there. So in terms of Cosmic, I think in terms of awakening a character, 4 pretty beastly. Drax may be really, really good. I need to do more testing with Drax, though, to fully assert that. Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, they both gain like a solid amount of kind of additional damage output based on their power meter when they're awakened. So a little bit of icing on the cake there. But 4, I mean, in terms of like before and after awakened, 4 gains the biggest benefit by far, because an awakened 4 is very, very bad. He's not very useful, but it's whether or not, you know, he's still like that top tier champion that he was before and still the highest cosmic damage dealer. And I feel like Drax, where, you know, against opponents that can bleed, Drax might have knocked him off that spot there. But we need to do some more testing before we can assert that. Then we have the tech class. By far, Star-Lord is the best to awaken. You've also got Rocket Raccoon. His signature ability has been significantly dwindled in this patch. Not that great. Howard the Duck and Civil Warrior, not that great duped abilities. Iron Man and Iron Patriot, you've got the Arc Overload, not too useful. Classic Vision and Regular Vision, they gain a little bit more. They gain the power drain mechanics, which can sometimes, if you got Classic Vision, it's pretty good to use a generic Awakening Gem on him, because he's only available via the offers. But if you brought one of those offers, you probably already know that. War Machine and Hulkbuster don't really need to be awakened. I reckon Hulkbuster is complete trash now since the World Power nerf. And War Machine, he's always been a little bit trash apart from an unblockable level 1. But who wants to bring up a War Machine just to place him on an unblockable level 1? Like, yeah, you probably don't want to do that unless you really, really like War Machine. Ultron benefits a little bit from being awakened. Not too much, though. Not too much. I mean, he just gets the energy absorption, which converts any energy attacks into power. It's nice to have as a defender, but I think Ultron might go down in terms of his defensive value, as well as all of the Iron Man characters, because, what is it, regeneration now scales off base health instead of modified health, which means in Alliance War, it's going to be like the base health of the champion instead of the like 300-400% increase node that you put it on. So yeah, I'm not too sure. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see when it comes to Alliance War defense. I reckon there's going to be a lot of value shifting. Then we have the Mystic class. Here you have like Dr. Voodoo and Scarlet Witch. Probably the top 2 to do. Mordo doesn't really gain much from being awakened. He's not on the list here. We have the Hood and Guillotine. They kind of have like nice to have abilities. Aren't really defined by their awakened abilities. Thor and Magic, they're good to have awakened, but Scarlet Witch and Voodoo are better. Doctor Strange, he's pretty trash at the moment in comparison to some of the top Mystics. His regeneration just didn't get buffed enough, in my opinion. Needs to be a little bit better. But yeah, he's not, maybe not complete trash. Maybe that was a little bit too much much slander, but he's okay. He's not what he used to be, is basically the point that I'm trying to communicate. Dormammu's good to awaken if you want a solid Alliance War Defender as a 4-star, but yeah, it doesn't really benefit too much from being a... Well, he's only good to awaken if you want him as a defender, because it gives him... what is it? It gives him a degeneration on his opponent whenever a buff expires on them. So that's pretty powerful as a defender, but when you're playing this champion, it doesn't really add too much to it. A little bit more damage, but not too much there. Juggernaut and Unstoppable Colossus, good champions to awaken, but like, you know, there are other priorities when it comes to the Mystic class. Loki, don't want to awaken him, he's pretty garbage. The Ghost Rider, his awakened ability will give him another judgment and a bit more damage, but it's not as pivotal that you awaken Ghost Rider anymore, because previously the regeneration used to be based on damage dealt, so it's really important that you had him awakened so that you could get more damage and then activate your regen and then deal as much damage as possible to get as much health. But now his regen is based off base health, so yeah, it doesn't really affect the character in terms of his ability to survive, but I think Ghost Rider is going to be very, very good for Alliance Quest, because his regeneration is very easy to trigger when you know how, and we'll maybe do a video on that later. And finally, we have Iron Fist, who is a good champion to have awakened, a lot of burst, a lot of damage, but doesn't really, you know, you don't want to use a gem on him probably. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for some quick awakening advice across all of the classes. A lot of stuff to cover in today's video. But yes, I think hopefully some of that information helps you out. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you have any additional comments on which champions to awaken, or maybe you have an additional viewpoint on which champions are going to be really, really good after the update, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Apart from that, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and have an absolutely fantastic day.